ButcherBox right now is offering new members a free grilling bundle, and that bundle is awesome. With your first order,
if he would have went during the Eddie Alvarez time, I think he probably would have had a little bit more success. The fact that he's going now during this time, back when the Eddie Alvarez first came in, there wasn't a lot of top level Dagestan. Like Charles was not there. There's Justin Gaethje wasn't there. I mean, like there was a little bit of a void in that 155-pound weight class at the time. You had Benson, who's not there anymore. You had myself. You had
beaten twice.
Pettis, not there. Nate Diaz was fighting for the title, like myself, Gray Maynard, Frankie. There was guys that were in there. What was his name? The one that left with the concussion? Grant Neal? TJ Grant. He ended up getting a concussion, was gone. So that time frame, and be honest, UFC didn't have the best 55-pounders in the world at the time. I mean, they did, but they didn't. Like they did, they had really good guys that were in there. Me being included, one of them, but there was a need for someone like an Eddie Alvarez. That's why when he came over, it was like, oh shit, he's here. And the same thing with Michael Chandler when he came over. Like if Chandler would have came when Eddie came, you would have been in store for a lot of great matchups for all of them. But that's the thing with the UFC though, and I'm going to be honest. All I ever heard when I was with Strikeforce, man, I can't wait for you to come over here and fight Cowboy Cerrone and Pettis. Never got offered the fights. You would think that would have been like, hey, these are the first. I called for them. I mean, after I beat Nate, I was like, I don't give a shit where Donald Cerrone's ranked. He was ranked like 7 or 8 or something like that. I said, I'll fight that guy. I want that fight. That's a great fight. Certain fighters motivate you. There was certain fighters that I really wanted to fight in my career. And no disrespect to Cowboy. I loved watching Cowboy fight.
You like that competition.
I love that competition. He motivated me to be a better fighter. I loved everything about him. I loved his cowboy hat. I'd seen him. He was a fucking great fighter.
One of the most respectful things you can say is, man, you are someone that motivates me. I want to fight you because I have so much respect for you. I love the way you fight. I love the way you handle yourself in the cage. What? There's no disrespect there.
These fighters that come over from other organizations, right, they have this in their mind, like, all I've heard for years is I couldn't beat that guy. Well, that guy motivates me the most, and that's the guy that I want to match up with. That's all I ever heard. Oh, you couldn't beat Cowboy. And I never was offered the fight. I wanted that fight. I mean, I took the RDA fight, and then they called me and said, hey, we're actually going to have you fight Pettis instead for the title. And I was like, all right, cool. But I was already signed to fight RDA, and they canceled that fight because they offered me the title shot. I said, okay, for sure, let's do that. So, I mean, I wanted certain fights. I wasn't too motivated on the RDA thing, but I understood it was it was a very dangerous fight. It was a good fight. He did motivate me, but not like the way that Pettis or Cerrone did. I had always heard for years, you couldn't stand with those guys. How would you beat them? You're not good enough to take them down. I was like, man, I'm fucking get these guys. I'm going to get them, watch. And Nate had just fought for the title. So what better guy to fight than Nate Diaz? And so there's guys like with Michael Chandler. I talk about Michael in terms of being a person. I'm not a fan of him as a person. Now, as a fighter, I'm a huge fan. And you have to learn as not just an analyst, but as a person, like in your heart or who you are as a person, how to separate those things. You can give people credit for their success. I give him credit for his success. All the damn time. He deserves it. He's a hard worker. He pushes himself. He fucking lays it all on the line. You can't take anything away from him that way. Okay? Me not liking him has to do with him as a person. That's it. That's as much as I can say about it. I like to poke fun at him because of that situation, but that's it though. That's all. One day maybe, who knows? And look, we can all talk. John can contest to this. I'm not a huge Conor McGregor fan. I don't like him because of my connection with Khabib, Islam, AKA, all those things. I'm not a fan of him. We had him on the show and I acted like a professional. And that's really what it comes down to. You have to be that way. I have to be that way. And one day maybe, I've actually even asked Podcast Dave, we've invited Nate Diaz on this podcast and said, hey, if you want to come on, I'd love to have you on, man. Talk about you, your brother, the history of how great you guys are and been for the sport. He turned it down. I get it. Whatever. And I would do the same thing for Michael Chandler. If he wants to come on and we can tell the world reasons why we don't like each other, then that's fine as well. And if you want to talk about fights, I'm fine with that too.
I'm not refereeing anymore.
As a professional, that's what you got to do. As a professional, you got to learn to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that didn't get along in the NBA, but they're sitting at the desk now together up there talking about how they used to beat each other, you know, but they all do it in fun because when you're done with fighting and you're done with everything, it doesn't matter anymore.
No.
Like, let that shit go.
Actually,
so, but I think he would have been, if he would have came when Eddie came, there's a good chance he would have been the UFC champ. That's the way I look at it. I mean, him and Eddie had battles, and those are great fights. Eddie became UFC champ, and Chandler for sure could have beat Eddie, and he could have beat anybody else that was there at that time.
Yeah, I agree with what Josh is saying as far as I think that the time period for Michael to actually be the guy in the UFC was about 4 to 5 years ago. If he would have come at that Eddie, when he was about 29, 30, come over when Eddie had come over, would have been a perfect time for him. He would have done extremely well. Not that he's not doing well now, not that he's not a great fighter now, but he's more towards the end of his career, more towards the latter part. He's taken more damage. He took damage when he was in Bellator. He's taken damage when he's in the UFC. And you can only take so much of that before it starts to affect your performance and what you're able to do. Now, he had a great last fight against Tony. That was an incredible knockout. And he's got more left in the tank. But do I think he would have done better 5 years ago? Yeah, absolutely. He was a younger, maybe not as smart a fighter. Sometimes. And
even then,
yeah.
even then.
Yeah, he would be. He's always a guy. Look, he's going to bite down and he's going to go. That's who he is. But yeah, 5 years ago would have been better for him.
Because I look at the guys that were in that weight class at that time.
Oh, yeah.
There was so much there was so much shuffling going on. Right now, you know who the top 5 guys are because they've been there, except for Dariush. He just got in there. But you have those guys that are in there, though. You've got Gaethje's been there forever. Dustin's been there for a while now. Charles now has made his run, but he's been the champ now for a couple of years. You've got guys that are in there that are making it happen. So they're going to be there. Islam now is just into that, but he's going to be there for a while, I would imagine. Other guys that top 5 has been set for a while, and those are the hardest ones to break into because they're so damn good, and they've been fighting each other. They're all been making each other better. When you go back to when I was there, that 2012, 2013, with the influx of Gilbert, myself, these guys were all good, but they were not there. I don't think that those guys were at the level of the guys that are there right now.
Yeah.
So I think that Eddie and I think that Chandler would have had a lot. Eddie won the championship. I mean, that says it all, and then Chandler coming in. I mean, Chandler, I think would have had a good chance of beating him if they fought for a third time or whatever it was, so it would have made for a lot more exciting fights, and he would have still had some left in the gas tank. He'd probably still be making a run right now. He would have helped stabilize that division, I think, during that time because he's a mainstay in terms of his competitiveness.
Oh, he's a stud. ButcherBox right now is offering new members a free grilling bundle, and that bundle is awesome. With your first order,
100% agree. Okay.